Have you ever tried to lose weight before and it just didn't work out? Well, the reason for that might be that you've done one or more of these 7 most common dieting mistakes that I see entrepreneurs do when they're trying to lose weight. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they are and how to fix it or what to do instead. But before we go into that, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button below, because on this channel, I'm going to show you how to get the strong, ripped, a high-performing 7-figure body without starvation, without steroids, and without cutting out carbs. So click that subscribe button now. All right, guys, welcome everyone. This is Coach Amir from 7figurebody.com, and in this video, we're gonna dive into 7 most common weight loss mistakes that I see people doing with their diet when they're trying to lose weight. So let's go right into it. Mistake number 1 is you see that thing or whatever diet you chose as this short-term thing. So you see it as something that you're going to do for several weeks, so maybe for 2 months or 3 months, and then right after that you're going to go back to whatever you were doing before. Obviously what you did before led you to where you are right now. So if you ever go back to that, it doesn't matter if it's in 3 months or in 3 years and 10 years, it's probably going to lead you to the same exact results that you got the first time. So this is, everybody says, that weight loss is a lifestyle change, and it's kind of like a washed out phrase, but it really is true. It has to be something that you see yourself doing for the next 10 years, 20 years, the rest of your life. I always ask my clients, once I set up the diet for them, they're into it, I ask them, let's say a week, 2, 3, 6 weeks into it, do you see yourself doing this exact same thing for the next 10 years? If the answer is no, we know we have to change something. So make sure that while you're doing that dieting thing, whatever that is, it doesn't matter which diet it is, how you set it up, ask yourself, can I do this for the next 50 years? If the answer is no, then you're probably going to, even if you lose any weight, you're probably going to regain it all back. So look at it as setting something new up that you can sustain and maintain for the rest of your life. That's mistake number 1. Right next to that, mistake number 2 is seeing or making a certain food or a food group bad or good. So you know how keto zealots think that carbs are bad, vegans think that fats are bad, fasting zealots think that eating 3 or 5 meals or whatever, having normal meals throughout the day is bad. And of course, all of this is complete BS. Eating normally when you feel like it is not bad. Okay, so, of course, we're going to talk much more in this channel about all of these particular and specific diets and, dieting approaches. But remember, there is no food in this world that is inherently fattening, just like there is no food that is inherently going to make you, lean and ripped and help you to lose weight. Yes, of course, when you think about it, some foods are much more likely to, for example, make you overeat. So if you have, a tub of ice cream, you're much more likely to overeat that than if you had, a bunch of broccoli. It's very hard to overeat in broccoli. Of course, there are such things as that, but that certainly does not mean that you cannot have ice cream and the only thing you should ever eat is just broccoli, right? So there are no foods that are bad. There are no foods that are inherently good. There is a time and place for every single food. So keep that in mind. Mistake number 3 is making either too many changes at one time drastically, or making some huge, extreme, drastic change at a, whatever time when you started, right? So for example, if you're cutting your calories, way too low, and then you're going to be starving yourself, this is definitely not going to work. You're just going to, eventually, you're going to suck it up, and eventually you're just going to give in and probably have a binge episode or 2 or 3, and then your diet is blown out, right? Or you are trying to make too many changes at once. I always tell my clients this, I rarely tell them, but this is what in my mind when I'm setting up a diet for a new entrepreneur client is, how can I get the result that we both want with fewest number of changes possible? So if we can change 3 things, 5 things, or 7, I will always choose 3. Why? Because you're much more likely, because remember, human beings, we are just creatures of habits. We basically do mostly the same things every single day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year, forever. For the most part, we do the same things. So if you're trying to make too many changes at one time, you're simply not going to succeed. As you've probably heard, if you chase 2 rabbits, both will escape. Well, guess what? What happens when you chase 10? again, usually you don't even start because you're so overthinking it and you are basically, procrastinate on it because you don't know what to do first. If you're trying to go down 10 paths, you think, and usually do nothing. So these are the people who plan on dieting and plan on losing weight, and they've been planning for the last 20 years and they haven't made a change. So don't do that. And remember, as fewer changes as you possibly can make to your diet, while it's still, the diet still makes sense, puts you in a caloric deficit, the better. So, huge number of changes. I'm going to overhaul my whole life. I'm going to wake up earlier, do exercise, do this and track calories and, pick am I using this food? I'm going to start cooking. I'm going to start exercising twice a day. Yes, there's no way you're going to do that. Like, it's too much. So as few changes as possible. That's the goal. Mistake number 4 is going for what's popular. So for example, you Google, how to lose weight. Guess what's going to show up? The, diet fad that is the newest one, most popular one, and probably ads for that are there. Remember, if somebody's paying for those ads, there's something they want to sell you in the back, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how entrepreneurship works. But 99.999% of the time, that's going to be the newest fad diet. You don't need a fad diet. Or you just, for example, see that your neighbor, friend, mom, dad, coworker, employee, somebody is doing this new diet or whatever the popular thing is, and you're going to jump on that too. Don't do that. It's usually just going to be a fad, and usually, just like most fads, even if you lose any weight on it, you're just going to regain it all back, and then we're at square one. Mistake number 5 is thinking that there's this new and awesome and phenomenal way to lose weight that was just discovered and we haven't heard or known about it ever before. And of course, the back of your brain knows that this is BS, because remember, in the last 50, 100 years, there really has not been anything new when it comes to how to lose weight. We know how to lose weight. Calories are king. You need to be in a calorie deficit. There's nothing new about it. You already know that. So the new way simply means, just like all the other diets, basically what they do is they try to manipulate you in eating less so that you have a deficit of calories while telling you that calories don't matter. So keto just cuts out all your carbs, and it just so happens that an average American, 75% of what they eat is carbs. If you cut out 75% of somebody's food, guess what? You cut 75% of their calories, right? So now they are in a calorie deficit and then they lose weight. It's not keto, it's not carbs, it's just you cut out 75%. On the other hand, veganism, for example, says that fats are bad and you should cut your fats. Fats just happen to be the most calorically dense macronutrient. And when you cut out or significantly reduce your fats, all of a sudden what's going to happen? Again, you're going to cut your calories. That's why you're losing weight. Fasting. There's nothing magical about fasting, but if you have 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all of a sudden you cut breakfast and lunch, hey, all of a sudden, out of 3 meals, I now have 1. So you cut out, do you understand how this works? Every single diet out there is just trying to have you lower your calorie intake while telling you that calories don't matter. What matters is carbs are bad, fats are bad, having normal meal frequency is bad. And in reality, none of this is true. There has been nothing new in, weight loss and kind of fat loss research in the last 50 years. And we know that all we got to do is actually be in a calorie deficit. Now, of course, that's easier said than done, but that is really all that is there. If your diet, whatever diet or approach that you decide to do, puts you in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight. If it doesn't, you won't. So I always ask a keto zealot, so you're saying if I eat 10,000 calories a day of just protein and fats, I will not gain fat? I will not gain weight? And they're like, yeah, you won't, because you're in ketosis, which is absolutely ridiculous because there's nothing magical about ketosis. It's just like a state of, that your body goes through when you have no carbs. And also, when they say, well, with keto, you're burning a ton of fat, because the only thing you're eating is fat. You can't burn what you're not eating. So if you don't eat carbs, how are you going to burn carbs, right? But you're actually burning fat that you're eating, not as much fat from the actual body fats that are stored. And of course, this all comes down to calories in, calories out. If you are on a keto diet, in a surplus of calories, you will be gaining weight. If you are on a keto diet in a maintenance calorie level, you're going to be maintaining weight. And lo and behold, if you are actually in a calorie deficit, whether you're in ketosis or not, you will be losing the exact same amount of weight. Mistake number 6 is not relying on whole foods and real food, but instead going for supplements, thinking that this is actually the way to cut calories. And a lot of times, I have to admit, it is a way to cut calories, but it is absolutely not a sustainable way of actually keeping the weight off. Why? Well, let's take an example. In the US, there is a very, very large chain of weight loss clinics. I won't name the name. So basically what they're based on is you have a protein shake in the morning, a protein bar for lunch, protein shake for snack, and the only meal you're allowed to have is dinner, and that can be let's say 4 ounces of whatever, chicken or something, and then a little vegetable. So basically, almost everything you eat throughout the whole day is protein shakes and bars. And guess what? Well, this chain of weight loss clinics lives from selling you the supplements and making, the profits of that. And again, nothing wrong with selling supplements or making profits of that. What is wrong is telling people, because whoever buys the franchise of this weight loss clinic basically tells you that this is how you're supposed to eat. And guess what happens? People lose 20, 30 pounds in a month, 50 pounds in 3 months. And what else? Well, immediately, I'm talking 2 to 4 weeks after that, they regain all of that. And then usually a month or two after that, they gain way more back. So people lose 30 pounds, gain 50, lose 50, gain 70. Actually, back in the day when I had a actual studio and I was working with people one-on-one in a private setting, that actually was really good for my business, because most of these people would lose 30 pounds and gain 50 and then come to me, and then we would actually do it right. But the problem is so many people are basically starving themselves with these horribly low calorie intakes. And of course, by the way, these clinics also teach the owners who buy the franchise to tell their clients the calories really don't matter. You don't really need to track calories. All you got to do is just eat these, protein bars and shakes, and there you go. And guess what happens? Of course, you are put in a huge calorie deficit, because a protein shake's going to have 200 calories, a bar may have 250. So you have 3 of those per day. You eat 500 calories, and then one meal, you're going to be in a huge deficit. Too huge, and therefore you're starving, losing too much weight, and of course the binge eating, blowing up, and yo-yo dieting is the norm. So don't do that. Do not forget that supplements basically means they should supplement the food, never replace food. So whole food or real food should be, if we're going to use the popular 80-20 rule, at least 80% of all your food, especially protein, should come from real whole foods. Only 20%, or ideally less, should come from supplements. And then the final mistake is majoring in minor things. So focusing on all the irrelevant minutia that's either going to do absolutely nothing for your weight loss results, or even if it does something, it's going to be this small and completely insignificant. These are things like meal timing. How many meals per day do you have? Or meal frequency. So meal timing, what time do you eat? Or meal frequency, how many meals are you going to have per day? And we know that neither meal frequency nor meal timing absolutely cause any difference in weight loss, as long as total calories consumed are the same. So if you have 2,000 calories, it doesn't matter if you spread those 2,000 over 2 meals or 4 or 6, or if you just eat it in one meal. Or absolutely identical results, because calories are king. Same thing is for meal timing as well. It does not matter if you eat in the morning and then don't eat throughout the day, or you eat at noon and then don't eat later on. So whenever you're eating does not really matter for your fat loss specifically. The only thing that truly matters is total calorie intake. Some other things that people focus on that they shouldn't is organic versus conventional foods. Everybody thinks organic is better, but to this day, there has never been a study. There's been a couple of hundred studies done on this, and overall, the conclusion is there is either no difference whatsoever between them, or even if there is any difference, it's not statistically significant. So we cannot say scientifically that organic food is more nutritious or healthier or better for you, so you really shouldn't be thinking about it too much. As well, glycemic index, you may have heard about it. So, okay, if this food is low GI food versus the high GI food, that's going to be a huge difference. It will absolutely not. This actually leads to the same or similar concept, which is complex carbs versus simple carbs. So everybody says sugar makes you fat and complex carbs don't. So, it's much better for you to eat, beans and have some brown rice than it is to have a whatever fruit or something else that you like that's a simple carb. And this is absolutely incorrect. This is not true. Carb is a carb is a carb. The only thing that really matters is total amount consumed. And yes, of course, just like before, that second order effects does matter. It is easier to overeat in some foods than it is in others. But at the end of the day, if we can control the total amount of carbs, for example, it's completely irrelevant for your fat loss results if your carbs are coming from rice or from brown or white rice or from broccoli or from sugar or from fruit or from anything else. It does not matter. The results are going to be the same. Same is for GI. So all of these, and as well, let's say protein sources. Okay, is my protein coming from plants or animals? Oh, this one is much better than the other one. It is not. None of this really matters much, if at all. What you really need to focus on is really two things. Number one, total calories. If you are in a deficit, you're going to be losing body fat. That's the main thing. And then the next thing is, do you have enough protein? If you do, then, and hopefully with that, you're also lifting weights at least twice a week. And if you are, so you're having enough protein and lifting weights, that means you're going to save your muscle. You're not going to lose muscle. You're going to save your muscle mass. And calorie deficit means you're going to be losing weight. Guess what? If you're losing weight but not losing muscle mass, where is the weight coming from? Body fat, which is our goal. So that's it, guys. That's for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and liked it. And if you did, click the like button below. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because on this channel, I'm going to be giving you more science-based and real-world proven tips and tricks and lists and basically formulas to use right away so you can become and build that 7-figure body to go along with your business success. And that's it for this video. See you guys next time.